All right. So today's studio is actually a throwback to a studio we did back in Unit 1. We're just going to do it in Java this time instead of Python. So the idea is that we give you a passage of text, and here's an example passage of text you can use. And then we're going to just count how many times each character appears in that particular chunk of text. That's our goal. So let's start off by making a place for us to work, because I don't have anything set up for that yet. So I'm going to go over to IntelliJ and find my Studios package that we made last time, and we're going to make a new class, and I'll call it character counter. Okay. We need to have at least one method in here. In fact, if you wanted to do it all inside of the main method, then I'm not going to complain too much about that right now. That's probably fine. So we'll go ahead and set up that main method. In the future, I'd kind of like to get away from doing everything inside of the main method, but for now, we'll let that slide. And so we need to get some stuff set up. First of all, we need to get this passage in here if we're going to use it as our example, right? And I probably want to create this and stick it into a variable, correct? So that variable is going to be a string, text, and then I'll put some quotes in here and paste it all. All right. Now we're ready to actually start doing some work. Now we're actually ready to start doing some stuff. The instructions give us a little bit of a hint here, actually. Right up here at the starter, it says we can convert a string into an array of characters using this line of code. We can see what this line of code is doing, right? My string dot toChar array is going to turn that into an array of characters. So if you wanted to copy this line of code and use it, you're certainly more than welcome to do so. That's why we gave it to you. You would, of course, need to probably switch that out for the name of the string, whatever you called it. And so now we have a nice handy array that we can loop through to visit each character in the text, right? And then we ask you some questions. So first question, let's think about these real quick. Which type of data structure do we want to use to store character counts? Does anybody have any ideas about this? HashMap, I gave you this answer actually before you started on this, before class. I think it's the only one that's even remotely feasible. If we try thinking about using the other ones, an array list or an array, I just struggle to see how those match the problem, because a HashMap is nice. What are the keys of my HashMap going to be? The characters, and then the values will be the count, how many times that character has shown up. So if I want to know how many times the character has shown up, I just look up that character in my HashMap, and it returns the number of times that character has shown up. All right. The next question asks is, we'll need to initialize the counts in some fashion. And it says it's probably better to do this as you go through the string as opposed to doing it before you loop through the string. And the question is why? Why don't I want to initialize all of the counts to be 0 before I go through the string? What's the problem with that? I'm sorry? Yeah. So, I mean, the question is, so every letter is going to start at 0, right? Like I've seen it 0 times. So the question is, I could do that right now. I could go through my map and say every letter has a count of 0, or I could just wait and do it later, right? Say, I found this character, its count is now whatever. And so they're highly suggesting that we do actually the second thing that I said, not the first thing. They're saying it's probably not a good idea to go through and set every character to have a count of 0. And the question is why? Why is that a bad idea? There's a lot of characters. We'd be duplicating our work, right? I'd have to loop through the string at least twice then if I did it that way, once to set everything to 0 and then once to set everything to the proper counts. Or in other words, I don't know what characters are in this string. How can I set all the counts to 0 when I don't even know what characters are showing up in here yet? right? I don't even know what characters are in the text that I'm using, so what sense does it make to set all the counts to 0? I don't know what's in there or not. This will make a little bit more sense once we actually start coding some stuff up. Let's see if we can think through this in English first, and then we'll try and turn it into code like we did for the practice problem, right? So we said we need a hash map, so probably creating a hash map is a good first step, right? What's a good next step? What's a good next step? What do I need to do? I've got my hash map. I want to start filling up that hash map with characters. So we're going to loop through all of the characters. All right. So I grab a character out of this array, and one of two things is going to happen. What is one of the two things that could happen? I grab the character, I want to count it. What is one of the two things that might happen when I go to do that? Right. It's either already in the map or it's not. Right? Either I have seen this character before or I have not. Correct? And we need to do slightly different things based on whether I have seen that character before or not. Is that clear? Is that clear why that's the case? Is that clear why that's necessary? If it's not in the hash map, I know what the count's going to be. The count is going to be not 0, because I have it in my hand right now. So it's not 0, but 1, because I have the character. I'm seeing it now. That counts, right? So if I haven't seen it before, the count is going to be 1, because I am seeing it now. If I have seen it before, the count is just going to be whatever the count used to be plus 1 more, right? So if I haven't seen this character, set count to 1. If I have seen the character, increase count by 1. Does that make sense? I think we're actually ready to start writing some code. I think this is it. I think at a high level, this is what we need to do. I think at a high level, this is what the studio is asking us to do. So step 1, create a hash map, right? Hash map. Do I need to do, what else do I need to do? It's actually kind of telling me I need the pointy brackets. What goes inside of here? I need two now, right? One for the key and one for the value. With an array list, I just needed the 1, but an array list is a different structure. A hash map has keys and values. I have to specify the type for both. So the type of the key is going to be a character, and the type of the value is going to be an integer. We'll call it, I don't know, counts. I guess we can do that. Now it's mad at me because I haven't imported this yet, but IntelliJ can do that for me. The hotkey on Windows is Alt plus Enter to make it import that class. And so I did that, and you can see now that import statement up here. I didn't have to type it out. I actually just saw that somebody on Slack posted a shortcut with a bunch of hotkeys that you can use for IntelliJ. I know like 4 or 5 of those. There are a lot. There are a lot. Okay, cool. So I've got my hash map. It's empty right now. I haven't put anything into it yet. The next thing we want to do is loop through all of the characters. And actually, this is a good opportunity to use the second kind of for loop that we didn't use in the exercise today. In the exercise, we looped by index. We said I equals 0, right? Such and such, such and such. We could do that here, actually. That would be okay. That would work. But we don't have to. We actually have a good opportunity to use the other kind of loop. In Java, they actually give it a fancy name. It's called an enhanced for loop. It makes it sound special. It's not, it's just a for loop. But all right, so if I want to do this different kind of loop, what do I say? For what? I'm sorry? Map.entry? Well, what are we looping through though? Are we looping through the map? This says loop through all of the characters. So I'm looping through this. So what's the type that I'm expecting to get out? A char. I give it a name, followed by the colon, and then the name of the array where I'm pulling these characters from. This is an enhanced for loop. For each character, we're calling it C in this array. And now inside of this loop, I can use this letter C to reference each character in turn. Again, if you wanted to do for int I equals 0, right, I less than such and such, that would work here too. If you did it that way, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. 100% will work. Just wanted to show you a slightly different way of going about it. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. So the next thing says, if I haven't seen this character, how do I check that? How do I check whether I've seen this character or not? Anybody have any ideas? If the count is less than 1? If I go to look up a character in my map and it's not there, what's going to happen? I'm sorry? Null. Yeah, that's exactly right. It'll be null. That's exactly right. So one thing that we can do is if counts, how do I check to see, what do I do? How do I get the value back out of a hash map? I actually just said it. It's called get. If I go to get C and it's equal to null, that means that it's not in there yet, right? But there's actually another way. Maybe you didn't do it this way. Maybe you did contains key, right? If you were looking through the list, contains key would also work. It's another option. I think either one will get you there. But if I look at this and it's not in there, now it says set count to 1. So how do I do that? Counts. How do I put a value in? Put. And then I have to specify what? The key and the value. So the key is my character, that is C, and the value is going to be 1. That part's done. Do I have to say this? What can I say that's a little bit shorter than doing this? Else. So if I get to the else, that means I have seen it before. I have seen this character, so I want to increase the count by 1. So what do I need to do to make that happen? I have to know what the old count is first, right? So how do I get the old count? You're very close. Old count, counts.get. This will retrieve whatever the count was, right? Whatever the value is. And then what do I need to do now? I need to increase that by 1 and then put it back. And put it back in. In fact, I can do that in one line. C old count plus 1. So get the value out and then put it back in and just add 1 to it. Are there any questions? We're not quite done yet. We're almost done, but are there any questions before we do one last thing? Is it really going to work? Well, that's a good question. We haven't actually tested it yet. That's the last thing that we need to do, is we actually need to run it and test it and see if it does what we expect it to do. So in order to do that, I need to print out everything that's in my map, right? I need to print out all the stuff that's in my map. So how do I do that? How do I print out the contents of my map? Will this work? Can I just print out the map like this? Will this work? Let's try it and see. Oh, I hit the wrong thing, sorry. I hit the wrong button. What did I just do? I don't know what I just clicked on. I clicked on something. Okay, it did work. It did print out the stuff. Kind of. A equals 1, D equals 2, L equals 1, N equals 1. It looks a little bit different than what I see here, but the numbers are the same, right? 1, 2, and then a bunch of ones. That's a space right there, right? That's just a space. There are 50 spaces, 22 lowercase a's, 3 b's, 22 a's, 3 b's. It works. It works. We got it. How would I make the format of this look more like what I see here? What would I have to do? I have to make a loop. Yeah, I have to make a loop and go through the map, which we can do, right? The prep work gave you an example of how to loop through the hash map, I believe. What is it? For entry, map.entry, rather, character, integer, E in counts. No? Didn't like that. What did I do wrong? Oh, I have to say dot entry set, right? Something like that. Isn't that what the prep work did? That's what I thought. And then I could say E dot get key plus a colon plus E dot get value. This is probably what the example from the prep work is, more or less. Again, there's nothing wrong with the way we were doing it before. This is just gonna format the output a little bit differently, and now it looks exactly like the output that we see on the web page. I believe the numbers are right. 29 S's, T's, 28 U's. Yeah, 29, 29, 28, yep. It works, it's all there. What questions do you have? I sure did. The answer is always yes. You can keep asking, I'll keep saying yes.
So when I tried incrementing mine, it would store the value and then increment.
Store the value and then increment?
And
so you were off by 1? Am I understanding correctly, or? It's very important to do a get followed by a put, right? It's very important to get the old value out first and then put the value in plus 1. If you just try to do a put, it's not going to work. Well, I mean, you could do something like this. So if you wanted to get real fancy, you could do it all in one line.
that's what I did. And then when you try to increment, it will put in that value. But after putting in that value, then it increments.
Oh, really? So you're saying these numbers will be different now? 29, 29, 28, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 50 spaces.
Space was 58 before.
Space is 50. 50. Yeah.
For some reason, I had to increment before.
Okay. I believe you. Yeah, I believe you. Any other questions? So there were some bonus missions that I don't think we have time to get to today, but if you wanted to work on this some more, you could see We got some extra stuff that you can do to play around with this one, but starting next week, we're gonna hop into spring boots. I saw somebody working on that today. So get started on Tech Jobs console if you haven't done so already, and have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you back here on Monday.